Alright guys, welcome back to another one. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the fastest methods towards leveling up all of your drive forms and summons in Kingdom Hearts 2. Drive forms are especially important to level up as you do unlock additional abilities for base form Sora, mainly looking at the growth abilities, which are going to come in super handy for the post-game content. First off, let's begin with summoning. The benefit that you get here through leveling it up is you get an increased gauge, so more duration of your summons. Summoning gains XP every single time the gauge ticks down to the next number. For this method, we're going to be using the Stitch summon in the Agrabah treasure room. Be sure that you have fire shortcutted. Summon Stitch and then activate the organization mushroom here. The trick to this is you want to wait for the summon gauge to deplete down to the next number. Once the gauge ticks over, be sure to use fire on the mushroom. Every single time you deal damage when you've got a summon active, you restore a little bit of the summon gauge. What this method is doing is it's intentionally ticking over from one gauge number to another, then depleting back down to the lower number, and then spamming fire to push it back up, and so on and so forth. If you have good timing, you can sometimes get the gauge to tick over 3 times in one use of fire. This gives you the equivalent of 3 XP. The reason why we're using Stitch in this situation is he has an ability where he licks the heads up display to restore your MP. Depending on Stitch's MP restore, you should be able to max out this summon level in about 1 to 2 runs of this. Before we get into drive forms, a little tip here: if you are in need of your drive gauge to be replenished, rather than using a drive recovery item, you can simply just head on over to Olympus Coliseum, activate the Pain and Panic cup, and then just simply quit. Doing this will completely restore your drive gauge. Looking at Val Form, we're going to use the same area, the treasure room in Agrabah. For Valor, I suggest that you equip both the Sleeping Lion and Starseeker Keyblade. Val Form gains XP every single time you land a hit, and because both Sleeping Lion and Starseeker increase your ground and aerial combo count by 1, this is going to get you some additional XP every single time you perform a combo on the Organization Mushroom. The idea here is to smack the living life force out of the mushroom. I suggest using aerial combos here as they perform quicker than Valor's ground combos. Make sure to be aware of your drive gauge. If it is getting low, be sure to leave the room, go to the save point and leave the world, and then re-enter the world. This will max your drive gauge back out and you can reset the run. Next up we have Limit Form. We're going to be using the exact same area once again to level this form up. Limit Form gains XP every single time you use one of the limit attacks. We're going to be using limit attacks against the mushroom once again in order to get our Limit Form XP. Now for this, I do suggest that you bring some ethers or elixirs with you, as Limit Form requires MP in order to pull off limits. Using MP restore items will definitely speed up the process of leveling up Limit Form, but in case you don't want to use these items, you can simply just leave the room, walk to the save point, and restore your MP that way, then simply walk back into the treasure room and use the limits. Next we have Wisdom Form. Wisdom Form gains XP every single time you kill a Heartless type enemy in the form. For this method, I suggest equipping Bond of Flame. This Keyblade will increase any fire magic's damage by 20%. We're going to be farming in Timeless River, as this will consists only of Heartless type enemies, beginning in Mickey's house and moving through the mirrors. At first, your gauge won't be that high, so you'll probably only be able to farm in Mickey's house until you level Wisdom Form up so that you have more duration time. As you level up Wisdom Form, you can make your way through more areas to farm more Heartless. Just be sure to keep an eye on that drive gauge. When you're getting to about 1 gauge of drive left, head out to Cornerstone Hill and leave the world through the door. Because going through the door technically leads you into another world, being Disney Castle, this means that your drive gauge, if you are in a drive form, will completely reset back to max. Because of this reason, this makes this method the fastest way to grind Wisdom Form. Next we have Master Form. Master Form gains XP every single time you pick up a drive orb while in the form. For this method, be sure to equip Sweet Memories as well as any drive converter ability. The Sweet Memories Keyblade comes with the drive converter ability attached to it. This turns any money drops into that of drive orb drops. We're going to be heading to the Mysterious Tower and farming the Gambler Nobody mini-games in the Moon Chamber. These Gambler Nobodies can activate a reaction command mini-game. There's a card one and a dice one. This is a timing-based mini-game where you have to press the X button or triangle button at the right moment when the prompt is over circle and not X. If you hit an X prompt, you'll either be turned into a dice or a card. Now, if you are transformed and failed the minigame, be sure to leave the room as soon as possible. This will revert you back to your regular form. However, your drive gauge now will be super low. Be sure to run back up the stairs to Yensid's room, go to the save point and leave the world, and then re-enter. This will ensure that you go back to max drive gauge. When you win this minigame, the Gambler Nobodies will throw out a bunch of money. Because we have Drive Converter enabled, most of that money will be converted into drive orbs. Now, depending on how good you are at these minigames, you should be able to level up Master Form incredibly fast. A little tip here too, attacking the Gambler Nobodies will almost always force them to use one of the RC attacks. Just be sure not to kill them. If they are starting to get low on health, then just simply wait for them to pull off the minigame. And finally, Final Form. Final Form gains XP every single time you defeat a nobody type enemy. For this method, I suggest equipping one strength-based Keyblade and Photon Debugger as the second Keyblade. The reason why I say Photon Debugger is it increases thunder damage by 20%, and you should use a mixture of both magnet and thunder for when you're farming these nobodies. We're going to be using the World That Never Was, working our way from the top of the castle down. Now, in the beginning, you won't be able to defeat many nobodies before your drive gauge depletes. The good thing about this method is because the top of the tower is considered an event room, it means that when you transition back into it from the field, your drive gauge will automatically go to max. As you level up the form, you'll get more duration out of it, which means that you'll be able to work your way further down the castle. For me personally, when I have a higher level of Final Form and I've got more duration, I like to work my way down to the portal room. I'll clear out the nobodies in the 2 portals and then use the save point there to leave the world and revert back to the top of the tower and rinse and repeat. This is hands down the best method of farming nobodies to level Final Form up in the game. So guys, those are all the best methods of leveling up your drive forms as well as leveling up the summon gauge in Kingdom Hearts 2. Hopefully this helps you out, and good luck with acquiring all of those very groovy growth abilities. Thank you so much for tuning on in. Be sure to subscribe to keep up with everything that's going on around these streets. A big thank you to my patrons. I appreciate the support, fellas. While you're at it, be sure to check out my other social media platforms. Links in the description down below. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and we'll talk real soon.